Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
Welcome to part two. How are you? You miss me?
Absolutely, mate. Thought you would never show up again.
What do you think to Fury not speaking to his wife, long suffering Paris for the last 3 months?
Oh,
What do you think to that, mate?
Christ.
I don't believe a word of it myself. Like they're just out for headlines, aren't they? They must sit at home and laugh at everybody. I think we're stupid.
That's saw that actually on one of Andy's videos, and I said actually in the comments, I said that's just Fury trying to make him seem comparable to like how those Eastern European guys are so much more disciplined,
Yeah.
and that's like something Usyk would do. you know, um, completely lock himself away, dedicate himself. That's why it's such a, you know, the guy's like a warrior. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's all that is Tyson Fury trying to throw out some bullshit for the media to lap up, to make him seem comparable because they all know this guy Usyk is a serious, serious guy. That's what that is. So it's absolute bullshit.
I don't believe a word about that. He hasn't spoke to his missus in months. What a load of old pony. They just jump out the mouths, don't they? You couldn't cope with out here. It's
Unreal, mate.
unbelievable, mate. Unbelievable that what they'll do for column inches that lot. You've never seen out like it. I think they all need to see a shrink. Tommy Fumbles, and old Pop Bang. They're going to need to speak to a shrink, all three of them, mate. They need help.
I agree. I agree, Ross.
That's me. Do you think that he'll concentrate on his legacy if he beats Usyk?
What is legacy like? I mean, we've already brought up his CV, and we
All the same
always like
legacy, is it really?
he has fuck all legacy. He is a sham. He is a sham. He has no legacy, and if someone thinks Tyson Fury's got legacy, they're absolutely they've lost the plot. It's like you mentioned earlier in another video. You know, do you think Anthony Joshua is going to be in the Hall of Fame? No, he's going to be forgotten about, and the only reason why Tyson Fury is not going to be forgotten about in exactly the same way is because he's such a con man and larger than life character, but he's not going to be remembered for his efforts in the ring, because the only real one of note is beating Vladimir for the title. Everything else, I mean, who the frig actually rated Wilder? Fair enough, the man was a dangerous puncher, but let's be real here. His CV was even more pish. So, uh,
What about
there, there,
Wladimir coming back at 49?
I don't think it's going to happen. But I tell you what, you see, before the Ukraine war, I read an interview with Vladimir who said, I actually was about to call Tyson Fury out because I've been always wanting to beat George Foreman's record. And the whole thing that scuppered his plans was the fact that Ukraine then got invaded. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it myself, but I do believe in the rematch. I think I spoke to you about this before, and I think you agreed with me. I always thought Vladimir would have beat him in the rematch, but that's just me.
They,
I like Klitschko,
they didn't want that rematch with Vladimir, though, did they?
and that's because I don't think he would have been able to pull it off, and they knew that.
Yeah, well, they didn't want it because I'll tell you why they didn't want it because it would have been Bricktop paying them. They were Box Nation and there were no money in pot, so they wouldn't have been able to pull any money up for him. So that's why. It's all right guaranteeing people X amount, but if you can't pull it in, you're not going to get paid, are you? So,
Yeah,
but it is what it is. But I just wondered if you thought that the fans would buy into him and old Vlad getting at it. I mean, Vlad were a jab and grab merchant 10 years ago. Everybody couldn't stand his style. Now they want him back. I mean, come on. Where we're at.
um, I
Kerry,
used to hate. I
Kerry, is
used to hate the Klitschko's. Like,
this where we're at, Gerry, now with boxing? Vlad, we're bringing Vlad back.
I don't think he'll come back though. I don't think he will. Um,
No.
always remember. Jonathan Banks saying that Wladimir wouldn't come back. So I don't think he will. He's got a lot of stuff on his plate right now, given the state of what's going on in the Ukraine. Um, I used to hate the Klitschko's, you know what I mean? Whenever they first showed up, I couldn't stand them, and I kind of grew to really appreciate them. And don't mind saying that I became a bit of a fan, even if his style frustrated me. I did become a bit of a fan of Wladimir. I mean, uh, you're not going to see anyone else ever again with 64 fights on their record. Them days are gone. So whether you love him or hate him, he did achieve quite a bit in his career. And his brother, you know what I mean. So, but I don't think he'll come back, Russ. And people are just jumping on the sort of the hype train of the fact that Klitschko comes out of retirement and to fight Fury. Um, they're just jumping on that the same way. It's a bit of it's a gimmicky fight, you know what I mean? So they're just jumping on that because this is the sort of shit is the flavor of the month now with people. It's stupid matchups like um, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, nonsense like that. I'm sure Vladimir Klitschko's in shape, um, and he's looked after himself and he's got out of boxing with his health intact. But I still wouldn't want to see. I still wouldn't want to see him fight Fury. I don't think that's a viable
Right, we
match.
know he's already said he'd fight him, didn't he? I mean, what a brass. What a
Yeah,
brass.
well, doesn't surprise me, mate.
He's
Doesn't
going on
surprise.
about, I've got that much money, I can't spend it. Well, why don't you give some to charity? You're always going on about charities, you give some to charity, do something good with it, Tyson. Stop going on about what you've got. You're boring us all to death.
I agree. Why doesn't he? Why doesn't he do? Why does he? Why does he not try and change his? The likes of me and you and our opinion on him. Why does he not try and do something that makes us think? Actually, you're not just a money grabbing scumbag. Um, he never does anything. He always hints that he's going to be this sort of nice guy, likable guy, and then he just does an about turn and does or says something ridiculous. That whole thing where he promised money to charity and stuff and never bothered doing it. It just makes you think you're just a real. I don't know. There's just something about him doesn't make me think he's a genuinely nice person deep down. I just don't believe it. I think he's him and his family, like you said, they're absolutely nutcases, mate, and they're just all about money. Doesn't seem to be anything else other than money with Emmons.
Right, I'm going to rattle through a few fighters' names in heavyweight division here, and I want you to give me your opinion on what next for them, yeah? Is that all right, Gerry?
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, mate.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. We'll start off with Frank Sanchez. What do you think to him?
Okay. I thought Frank Sanchez had potential. He obviously got done in by Cabiel, which was a good scalp for Cabiel. I think if he is looking to make his impact on the division, he needs to pull up his socks, start getting fights made, and work his way back in um, by taking on some decent opponents. You know, um, maybe if Bacoli doesn't have anyone to fight, maybe throw his name into the hat with that. But he needs to work his way back in because basically his reputation now is he's regarded as a bit of a hype job. But I think that's because Cabiel is a lot better than people were thinking. So Sanchez could still have potential, in my opinion. I'm not done with him yet, but I just need to see some proof of it.
Yeah, actually, I see where you're coming from, mate. I see where you're coming from. Okay. What about Andy Ruiz? He's not fought since Jarrell Miller draw. Do you think he's finished now? I do.
I think he's finished. I don't know. He's messed about. Too big a gaps between fights,
20 stone against Miller.
and you know, I actually give Miller that victory. Don't know what you thought about it, but you know, no, he's not focused enough. His head's
We
not.
need a meat slicer on the backs. Andy Ruiz and Miller need to borrow a meat slicer off Tyson.
Could you imagine how much meat you'd get off both of those guys?
You'd have a good barbecue, wouldn't you? What
Sure
about
would.
this
Yeah.
fella here? Luis Ortiz. He's got to be finished now, hasn't he, Luis Ortiz? He must be 50.
He has to be finished. I see he's still sort of outside top 10. Can't believe he's still knocking about. I thought Luis Ortiz had potential. Do you know what I mean? But you know, he had a couple of bad knockouts, and I felt like anytime he took a heavy blow after those Wilder knockouts, I noticed he was very easy to knock off balance, and I just thought, you know what, you had some skills. I think you've left it a bit late in your career before you got into this kind of game. You've missed the boat, mate. I think he missed the boat.
What
So I
about
just
Joe Joyce then, Gerry? What do you think to him? You think he's finished now? Because he's 40 in his next birthday.
so um, you know, there's a slither of hope for him if he was to find a good match and get a good victory, but it's very, very slim. So it's closer to being finished for Joyce than it is for going forward. Say with, the way I was sort of saying with Frank Sanchez has still potential to come back and work his way in. Joe Joyce would be lucky if he managed to get a good win off somebody and maybe work his way back in. But more than likely, it's done for him, I think.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a shame, but he left it too late too.
He's only had 103 rounds, him.
I know, I know.
Unbelievable, and he's shot to shit, isn't he?
He's like
That'll
2
be
years
spent.
younger.
That'll be Fraser Clark, that as well. He'll go the same way as him.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right.
You can't ponce a living in that EAS all them years and then think you can do it in pros. It catches up with you. All right,
I
then.
agree, mate.
What about this one here? We know about Jared Anderson. He got done by Bacola, didn't he? Pulev shouldn't even be mixed. Derek War Chisora.
The man's got problems, and he's killing himself every time he gets in that ring. I'd like to see him retire. Who is that stupid fight he's got on next year?
41-year-old now, Derek Chisora is knocking on a bit, isn't he?
Otto Volin. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't remember who he scheduled to fight. Did he not promise us something special in his last three fights? Well, Otto Volin's not going to be special fight, and Volin could very easily stay at distance and nick a points victory over him, and that'll backfire spectacularly for Chisora.
You think?
It could do. It could do, yeah. Because that's what Volin did against Gassiev, and Gassiev isn't as done as Derek Chisora, but Volin was able to just keep him at distance, and he's kind of got a bit of that sort of awkwardness. He's a bit of he's southpaw Volin, I think. I just think Derek Chisora needs to call it a day. The guy's a lunatic. That's yeah assessment.
The guys are what?
He's a lunatic, man.
Who'd have Chisora on a show, man? He talks like Scooby Doo, right? He sounds. Have you heard
Yeah,
him talk? He talks like he's underwater. He talks like somebody's drowning him in a bath.
I agree. I agree.
I can't believe how he talks, mate. He needs help, him. Soon as
He
he
does.
him and say, "Look, you need saving from yourself, because you're going to you're going to end up hurt in that ring, because it's a lonely place, that ring. And I won't mind, but he's not even getting out at way now at punches, is he?
No, he's basically relying on absorbing as much as he can. Um, he's turning into a heavy bag that fights back. The only thing I'm going to say about Derek Chisora is when it comes to talking about Alexander Usyk, he calls it real, and he tells everybody how much of a consummate professional Usyk is, and that he's a killer for doing all those crazy cycles and all the training that he does. Chisora tries to warn people, but I don't know if people listen to him. Do you know what I mean? He does actually try to get that sort of information out there about Usyk and how dedicated he is. But apart from that, though, Chisora is a complete nutcase.
Yeah. What do you think to the Dillian White situation at the moment? Because he's just had another win, hasn't he, Dillian White? And he's he's 31-3 now, and he's got his Senate top 15. He's approaching his 37th birthday, but he ain't got long left, has he, Dillian White?
I don't know why he's hanging around, Russ. I watched that fight at the weekend, and it was entertaining in terms of bit of a slugfest, but I just couldn't help thinking, what was Dillian White? What's his plan? Is he looking to get a few more shackles? Is he? Does he really think he's going to work his way back into contention? If he does, he's completely deluded. I don't know why he's hanging about. He's made money. He doesn't need to be. He's picked up a couple of decent guys management wise. Why doesn't he fall into that? Instead of going out there and taking him 7 rounds to fight some guy who Dubois just destroyed. Um, his punch resistance gone. It's only a matter of time before he gets hurt by somebody. Do you know what I mean? He could have very well ended up hitting the deck last Saturday. I think he was surprised that that guy was able to, you know, clip him the way he was. You know what I mean? Sure, he got the victory and stuff, but I mean, Dillian, what is it you're trying to? What is it? Where are you trying to go? I don't know. I don't see much left for Dillian White, really.
Don't you?
No, mate, no.
Well, he's not exactly looking slim, Dillian White, is he? We're 260 odd pound. The big men, these aren't they now? But it looks to me like he's not in shape. You think?
No, no. I was thinking the same thing as well because okay, when he had the fight in Ireland earlier in the year, okay, you come back. It's like when George Foreman came back and he was fat, and then after, George Foreman was very busy when he came back when he was older, and then he gradually worked. He was working the fat off, and he was, getting himself into a lot better shape than when he first showed up. I think it was towards the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was expecting Dillian White to come in. Stupidly thought this. Thought Dillian White was going to come in a wee bit slimmer, and I actually was going, Jesus, he's been flat out eating Mars bars by the looks of it, and getting chippies, and what's he doing in Portugal? Like, you know what I mean? He mustn't be going for runs. That's for sure.
Well, that's how you knock weight off when you go for a run. When the boxer goes for a run, he takes 4 pound off straight away. If he's got it to lose. So if you're not doing them runs, they're not keeping the weight down, are they? That's how I look at it, mate. If you're not doing your runs, you're not a boxer. To be a boxer, you've got to be a middle distance runner. You've got to be a circuit trainer. You've got to be a boxer, a fighter. You've got to have everything to be a boxer. You know it, don't you? And if
Yeah, I mean,
you're not going to go for the runs, I'm not interested, mate. I'd said to Dennis, out of all these fighters you've got here, who's an hard trainer? And he'd be like, well, everybody's different. And I'm like, have we got gym rats here or what? Or is it just like a youth club? What we got here? What's going on here? And I don't think boxers, when they go home, look after this. And I don't.
well,
I
can I
think
ask you this
these
question?
that are champions are doing the business, aren't they?
Yeah.
And them that aren't doing the business, they're not putting the time in. That's how I look. That's how I look at it. Just what I think, and I think I'm right. I don't know. I
Can I
might.
ask you this, Ross? Do you think in this heavier era of heavyweights, They think they can get away with the lack of training because they're aiming to be heavier, so they're being lazy. Do you think that's a thing?
Yeah, I think that could be a possibility, couldn't it? Yeah, it could be.
Because I think they
I
can
think it's
prove
just laziness and fighters nowadays. They just want to be known as boxers. They want to be known as a boxer. They're not bothered about the belts or the prestige. They just want to be known as boxers. Oh, he's a boxer. That's
it.
what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. That's my opinion on it. And there's too many of them don't take it serious enough, in my opinion.
I
Could be
agree.
wrong.
I
I
agree.
just think too many kids nowadays are not taking it serious at all, and I think they
Yeah.
get found out. And it's not hard to get found out because it's a lonely place, in that ring. You get found out.
And you wouldn't have had that back in the day. People
No,
were
everybody would have
warriors.
trained. I mean, what have we got now? We've got flabby fighters getting in the ring, flabby. We've got Sonny Edwards strutting about. See, well, I didn't train, I partied, I smoked weed, did this, did that, smoked, and whatever. Look, Sonny Edwards was 29 in January, anyway. Let me tell you this. He'll be back within 12 months with begging bowl out. Mark my words. What's he going to do? Go get a job? Who's going to want to have the fighters managed by him when he's coming out with stuff like that? I smoke weed, I do this, I do that. Who's going to want to trust him to look after their fighter? Absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody's going to want that, are they? Nobody's going to trust him with the fighters, bragging off about his lifestyle like that. Would you want your kid managed by him?
No way, mate. I mean, he shouldn't have said that.
Keep everybody on hook. And they go, oh, when you're coming back, when you're coming back. He's surrounded by it. He's in his 20s. He'll be back with begging Bowl out. Mark my words. Remember this day, kid. He will be back.
He should have kept that to himself. If he's up to that, just keep that. You don't need to tell people that sort of stuff, even if you're at that or not. So that was a mistake.
Plant pots, mate. Absolute plant pots. That's what they are. Dillian White, he's another plant pot. Why is Dillian White strutting around like nothing's happened? He had an issue with K1, a drug issue. Then he had an issue
Yeah.
after he had an ample of fights, didn't he? Before his 2-year ban, before he fought Joshua at first time. Then he got busted for Oscar Rivers fight, didn't he? And then he got busted before Joshua fight. But yet nobody wants to pull him about this, do they? Why ain't none of these YouTubers putting it on Dillian White in these big 30-minute sit-downs he's doing about the Oscar Rivers nonsense and about the Joshua nonsense, the second Joshua fight? Nobody's mentioning it, are they? Why is that? Is it because they're scared of him? I ain't scared of him. I'll ask him.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to ask these questions, but it seems to be the sportsmen that are dictating the way the press are operated. So it's just all fixed. So if you can't ask these questions, how can you have honest journalism? Do you know what I mean? So now it's just PR.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is. Okay,
Any
then
more you
what
want to
about this guy here, Zhang? What's happening with him?
Well, he's against KBL, isn't he? I could see KBL being smart and taking a points victory or doing him towards the end of the stretch. Because I think KBL is a smart fighter.
Yeah.
I think he adapts to his opponents. I haven't seen him taking any massive punches, so I can't really assess his how good he is in that respect. But from what I have seen, he's a smart fighter and he can adapt. So um, I think Zhang's going to lose that fight. Personally,
Think Zhang's what?
I think Zhang's going to lose that fight against KBL.
Yeah, I do. I think Caballel's a bit special. Me, he took Chisora to school years ago, about 6.5 years ago, didn't he?
Yeah,
Absolutely took him to school in Monaco, didn't he? And Chisora were in better nick then.
absolutely, Russ.
Absolutely
Absolutely.
took him to school. And ever since then, nobody's wanted. They've parked him up. Caballel's biggest bogeyman out there. Not Martin Bacoli. He's already been beat by a cruiserweight. Bacoli, yeah, he is a bit swerve, but he's not swerve like Caballel, let me tell you.
Abiel could be like in a couple of years' time when we get rid of like the Fury and AJs, and he could be somebody who comes through in the next crop, fighting against Dubois and stuff for
Gerry, we're
titles
not
like
going to
that.
get rid of Fury and AJ. Not while there's the. They're not going anywhere. They'll be punching for pay till the 50, them two. You don't think Fury's going to leave all that on table? Greedy man like that, do you? Think Greedy Belly's
Well,
going to leave all that on table?
Greedy Belly, that's brilliant.
Will be carried out in the end. That's how you'll get rid of him. He's going to have to be carried out. And his dad will end up going mad, and having an heart attack because his dad can't believe how much money's on offer and he
I
can't get
know.
his hands on any of it.
Well, what I meant was, the top sort of five guys, like, coming through because I don't see Fury. Them guys will just be kind of hanging around the same way, not making the comparison that he's as good as Ali, but you know how Ali kind of hung around towards the end. It was just like, because he was a name, whereas he should have retired in like 78 after Leon Spinks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. Obviously, what you're saying there, Fury and AJ still lingering about in a few years' time, but I think Cavill could potentially turn into one of the top guys. Then,
Yeah.
yeah, I think he's got potential, mate. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Obviously the heavyweight division, we've got people like Bean. In fact, we don't call him Bean now, we call him Super Bean. I mean, the man's beat cancer and he don't want to talk about it. Give him his flowers. He's back on DAZN. He's told loads of whoppers. Let me just say this, Bean, I don't believe your cancer story. I don't believe it. And I know I've seen screenshots. So stop with your lies. Stop it. Or take legal action against me for saying it. Just stop with your knackers. Been listening to too many clowns around you. Right. As regards the heavyweight division at the moment, in my opinion, I don't think there's really. I don't think that they keep going on about it being this great era. Where's the great era in this? Where? Let
I
me
don't
just
know, mate.
let me just go through this. I'm going to finish off on there. We've got Usyk at the top, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, he's all right. We know about him, don't we? He's the real
yep,
deal, isn't he, yeah. Then we've
yep,
got Dubois. He's got two defeats, hasn't he, Dubois? And he quit
yep,
both times in them, didn't he? So he's got quit in him, hasn't he?
yep,
Right. Then we've got Fury. We know all about Fury, don't we? In his pish CV, how he hasn't really
yep,
fought anybody for 5 years. Caballel, he's the real deal, like Usyk. Joshua, wrapped in cotton wool, am I right?
yep,
At number 6, we've got Martin Bacoli. He's already been flogged by a cruiserweight. Joseph Parker, the Stinkinator. Lawrence Okoli, jury's out on him because he's in heavyweight. He's only just turned up to heavyweight, hasn't he?
yep,
Michael Hunter, he's a cruiserweight. He's not big enough. Fabio Wardley's from White Collar. Then we've got Ergovic, big stiff. Otto Walling, washed up. Zhang, an old man. Ajagba, don't do it for me. Dillian White, 4-time drug cheat. Mario Garcia, cruiserweight, not big enough. Justice Honey, I don't even know who he is. Derek Chisora has been flogged to death. Pulev's been flogged to death, 40 odd. Jared Anderson's been found out. Joe Joyce is an old man. So's Luis Horses. Andy Ruiz is a fat man. That leaves Frank Sanchez and Ricardo Torres. Utter pony. That's it. That's the top 25, mate. Are you telling me that can go up against the 70s guys or 90s guys? Because there's only really an ample any good on this. All the rest are just there on like false pretenses, aren't they? Or
I don't
because
know
the
who's saying
promoters
this.
have lobbied for him. Well, I'll just give you a breakdown on top 25. Do you want it again, Gerry?
No, I mean, I don't know who's saying that this is like the best. This is the
Bean!
greatest era.
Bean's saying it's the greatest era for heavyweights and the heavyweight division is
No,
booming. All the Bean could hype up a glass of water, couldn't he, Bean? He could make a glass of water interesting, couldn't he, Bean? Well, he could, couldn't he?
well, he could to some people. Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But like I said, I'm just looking at this top 25 here. It's absolute pony macaroni. It's absolute pony. You know what I mean? I mean, how many undefeateds is there on here? Usyk, Caballel, that's 2. Usyk, Caballel. Wardley's got a draw on his record. Usyk, Caballel. Is that it? That's it for undefeateds, and you keep going down the list. Usyk and Caballel. Do you know what I mean? In top 25. Who's this Justice? Oh, no, someone. Let's see if this one here, this Aussie. Yeah, I know
Rooney.
he's 11 and 0, isn't he? 11 and 0. Justice Honey. I don't look. I'm looking at him. No, he ain't going to do it for me. Well, how many fights he had? 11, 6 KOs, and he's been fighting Dossos and he can't get them all out there. So he's going nowhere either. So basically, you've got less than a handful of high-end guys there at the top 25. All the rest of them are ready to be flogged. They're all ready to be plucked. People like Hughie Fury should be queuing up for all these now. Why ain't it? Why ain't Hughie's team getting him a fight out of all these deadbeats in this top 25? Take Usyk and Caballero out this lot here. All the rest of them are deadbeats, mate. Absolute deadbeats. Hughie shouldn't be swerving Martin McCauley. He's been flogged by a cruiserweight. Shouldn't be swerving people like that. People shouldn't be going on about he's a bogey. You need to fight these bogeymen. People keep going on about McCauley's a bogeyman. Well, go knock him out then and your main man. Hughie needs to go fight McCauley or Caballero to get in the mix to get to the big end money. Do you think?
Yeah.
Or they're going to keep fighting guys like he's been fighting on these shows. Again, just wasting time. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. So nobody gets a free pass on here. People need to start stepping up to the plate. Everybody just wants to be a fucking boxer, don't they? At home, I want to be a boxer. I want to be a boxer. Well, someone. You know what I mean? We can all box eggs, can't we? Box someone then. I want to see some fights. I don't want to hear a load of shit about people wanting to fight. And when it comes to it, they can't get the fucking coats off. We want to see some fight. I don't want to see shit. I want to see some fights. And this top 25, what I've just read out to you now, it's utter shit. It is absolute pony. The top 25 here. And let's have a look at the Brits. What we've got here at Britain. Right, top 15 in Britain. No, top 20. DeBar's at the top, a two-time quit. Fury there underneath him, a three-time drug cheat. Joshua, he's already been flogged. He's finished. Lawrence Okolic, jury's out. Wardley, done well today, he's from White Collar. Dillian White finished. Chisora finished. Joyce finished. Hughie needs to get a move on in my eyes. Got to get a move on. I've defended Hughie long enough. He's going stale. Hughie's going stale. He can't see it. He needs to get a move on. Johnny Fisher, a gimmick. David Adelaide, he's on comeback trail, so jury's out on him. Fraser Clark, I think he's too big. He's too stiff. Can't move. Big stiff. Moses Vatome, jury's out. He's not been it. Solomon Dakris, not for me. Nick Webb finished. Cash Ali finished. Dave Allen finished. And all the rest of them going down there. So basically, you're up to Moses Vatome, top 13 there. That's it. After Moses Vatome, you can forget about Dave Allen and all the rest of them, Nick Webb below, Cash Ali. But that top 13 there, Fraser Clark, he needs to get, a lot of them need to get their act sorted, but no names are jumping out at me there saying killers that could take Usyk on. Do you see one there in that British lot that's going to flog Usyk? No. I don't see one, do you? But British boxing's booming. We're squabbling for second place and third places here. Usyk's at the top of the pile. The rest of them are also Rands. And on that note, it's time for me to part, Gerry. I hope you're well.
Okay, mate. Looking forward to this on Saturday, so.
Yeah, we'll do some. Well, I'll text you now that when I'm watching boxing on Saturday or something, yeah?
No worries, mate. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Have a good evening, Gerry. I love you, pal.
You too, mate. Take care, all right?
Go get your hair cut. Bye.